Hello again, everyone. This is Randy, your sewing machine man, and what we're looking at here is a Singer Merritt 3130. Merritt. Wonder where that came from. Well, Mr. Isaac Merritt Singer. Merritt was his middle name. Well, who knew? Isaac Merritt Singer. That's where they got this. That's pretty clever because they've got all sorts of cool names now, but that was the one that predominantly. There's still a lot of machines, I think. I see them out there all the time. Singer Merritts. And sometimes it doesn't even say Singer. It'll just say Singer Merritt. But the 3130 is not one of my favorite machines. You can certainly do worse. Of course, with Singer, my customers call me and they go, I have a Singer and I need to get it fixed. And I said, well, before we go any further, I got to know what model it is. Because Singer made the best sewing machine in the world, and Singer made the worst sewing machine in the world. Now, this is not the worst, but it's out there, trust me, and it's a little bit newer than this one, Mike. It's probably over at Walmart right now. You can probably go get it. It's probably that one. Could be, maybe not. I could be mistaken. I've only been doing this 49 years. I'm new. So, this little guy was made in Brazil. This was back when Singer said, you know, we have the best sewing machine in the world. Let's see how we can take it around the world and set up factories and see if we can make it differently. I don't think they said let's make it better, or else they wouldn't have in here a metal gear driving a plastic gear, which is not good. They turned out later on to find out that nylon drives nylon better than metal drives plastic. What metal usually does is just eats plastic up. Makes sense to me. And it has a dry belt underneath. It's got a nice cast iron casting. I mean, it's cast iron, but if they'd have put the right components in that cast iron, they'd really have something. But those components have to be made in machine shops by skilled machinists, and they cost big money. So they scrimped, and they were on their way to making the worst machine in the world, and this was just one of the signposts along the way. If you have a Merritt 3130, just be careful with it. This one makes a nice stitch. It's had a lot of use, and it's got a lot of wear, a lot of movement in the needle bar, so it doesn't do the best zigzag stitch in the world. But it'll make a nice straight stitch, and when you start getting things in the extreme, swinging left and right, it'll start skipping because it's had a lot of use. I took all this apart in here and repositioned it because it was just flopping around like crazy. I actually thought somebody brought me this thing as a gag, you know. When I get them sometimes and they have one or two things wrong and it makes sense, I go, okay. But when they got like 10 things wrong, I'm like, well, it's either a practical joke or the people at the factory just weren't having a real good day on this one. The timing was off, the needle bar height was off, thread gap was off. I mean, I've never seen so much, you know, loose screws and this and that. So maybe it's a practical joke, joke's on me, but more than likely it's, maybe it was an early production. Maybe the person put together, it was their first day, you know. There's all sorts of explanations for why things are the way they are. I don't know. It's a mystery, but, you know. Now it's sewn. It's doing a good job. I'll get it back to the customer, and they'll have good luck with it, and it'll have more years of stitching in it. But with this machine here, with this metal gear and the plastic gear down underneath, what you want to make sure you never do is when the machine decides, it goes around and it'll hit something like a seam, and the machine says, okay, I don't want to go through that machine, and you go, well, I'll just help you. And you grab the hand wheel and you turn it. That's what usually breaks that gear. The machine usually won't break its gear itself because it doesn't have that much power. It's when someone grabs the hand wheel and tries to force it over a seam, that's what usually breaks the gear. So if you have one of these, be very careful with it. Sew on your lightweight stuff, your shirts, your jammies, your blouses, your pillowcases, minimum layers. Don't get too carried away with it, or else what you'll do is you'll break a gear. And don't try to force it over a seam, or I promise you, you'll break a gear. It's a serviceable little machine. If you have one, make the best of it. If you're going to look for one and you see one of these, I'd skip it, because almost always, if they sit for a long time, that gear is going to be broken on the inside. When I look at these, the first thing I check to see is if I turn that hand wheel and that hook turns around and around in there, and if it doesn't, that means that upper bevel gear is broken. It's almost always the case. It can be replaced, but I don't know if it's worth it. So, Singer Merritt 3130. Not the best Singer ever made, certainly not the worst, but it's in that spectrum somewhere. Singer Merritt 3130.